CSST filters part 5. Let's talk about how we can combine CSST queries, which we talked about in filters part 4, with user-defined lists of filter conditions to get an even more complicated, if required, list of clients. First, as an illustration, let's use the recall button, go to CSST queries, and we're looking for one called Program Enrollment by Wizard, which we didn't talk about in the last series of clips on the CSST queries, but this is another one that's available to you. So when we click Apply here, we're going to get a dialog that comes up that is essentially identical to the report setup wizard dialog that comes up for the clients enrolled in programs report. So this dialog allows us to filter based on a list of clients who have certain kinds of records, either participation or enrollment records, or in a second I'll mention a couple of other possibilities, in a particular program or a list of programs. And the first thing that you're looking for here is a start date and an end date. So we're looking for a client who has an enrollment record or a participation record that has dates between those start dates and end dates that you've entered up here at the top. Then we can filter by agency if we're so inclined. In most cases, you'll want to leave that set on all. And then the next set of selections is this radio button, which gives us enrollment, participation, both, scheduled, or eligible. So enrollment records, if you refer back to some of our earlier video clips on program enrollment and participation, it'll give you more details on what's involved here. But an enrollment record is an enrollment record for a particular client where that client has an individual enrollment start and enrollment end in a particular program. Participation is simply a record that a client has participated in a program without any reference to when that program started or ended. In other words, it's not a program instance, but rather just a generic program name as listed on the first page of the programs form. Or we can look at both enrollment and participation records. Or alternatively, we can say scheduled, which refers to attendance records, which is a more specific kind of record of attendance as kept in the scheduling form, indicating that not only is a client enrolled in a particular program, but they have actually attended and been recorded as having attended that program. And finally, the last is the least specific of all of these possible linkages to a program, and that is simply that a client is eligible for a particular program. So you can choose to use any one of these, the enrollment, the participation, or both of those, or as separate items, attendance records or eligibility records. So we're going to use both in this case. And then in the list of programs, which is a list of, this list on the left is all programs from your programs form. So you can choose any ones that you want. If we want to put one over on the right side, we just double click it or drag it, drop it across. And we'll get a list of programs over here, and that can be as many or as few as you like. Then you can click Next, and now it allows you to go ahead and add more filter conditions based on client characteristics, i.e. race, age, sex, and so on and so forth. If you leave this blank, you're simply querying the entire client database for the set of conditions that you've established in the first step here. So let's click Finish, and it will run, and it will give us then a list of 31 clients who are enrolled in that or participating within those date ranges that we established in that list of programs that we had set up in the wizard. Okay, so we'll kill that filter condition, and then let's go back to the filter builder, and we can look at the list of previously built conditions that we established in video clip number CSST filters number 3, part 3, where we had birth date in clients is after the year January 1st of the year 2000, race in clients is Black/African American, and the state in their address is Texas. So if we apply that, we see that it gives us an arbitrary listing of 3 people who meet those conditions. So suppose now, just for the sake of illustration, and this is sort of an artificial a construct here that we've got going with all these conditions, but suppose we want to see a list of those people who also meet the conditions that we just established in that program eligibility set. The way you do that then is if you hover the mouse over the what's this help icon here, you'll see that a dialog box comes up that tells you the CSST Query button. And I'm not going to read it here, but if you read that, it'll tell you that we can right-click this CSST Query button. If we click it, it'll simply go through the process of establishing a filter based on program conditions. But if we right-click it, you'll get this pop-up dialog. And this action will combine the results of a selected new CSST query with the current selection list. In other words, the list that we're seeing on the right here that's already been selected by whatever means you choose to get that list. You can then combine those results with a CSST query, and you've got the choice of specifying that the client name must appear in both, or it may select all from the current list that are not in the new query. So in this case, we want both, and we want the programs that we just ran a few minutes ago. We click Apply, and we'll get that same dialog. In this case, all of the parameters are already set the way we just ran it a minute ago. So we can just click Finish here. And it applies that to the list that was already there, and we see that we now have 2 clients who meet all of those conditions. So when we click Continue, that's presented here. And we go to this page and we see that we have race is black, birth date is 2009, address is Texas here. And over on the details page, we see payee services, which was one of the list of programs that we had put in place. The other one in the list is our Kitty Warbucks. Same thing, payee services is here. And back on this page, we see black and Texas and birth date of, again, 2009.